Hello, Wastebusters. Welcome to a new year and my fifth season with the podcast Waste Not, Want Not. The synchronicity of my finding my guest Julie Brams today, who is author of The Nature Embedded Mind, and it's all about natural intelligence and immersing ourselves in nature, which is rather ironical because I'm just about to embark on a fantabulous trip to Antarctica. I pressed record as we were doing a pre-show chat and we got so engrossed I never got the opportunity to formally introduce her. So we're just going to dive straight into this one and enjoy a really in-depth conversation about building our relationship with Mother Nature. I'm just about to go to Antarctica, and I went 10 years ago and took about an immersive experience. I came back and I remember it being, excuse my French, it was a complete head fuck because all my senses were on overload.
Yes.
Particularly visual and sound, and it took me about 2 months to recalibrate myself. Amazing.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's a really important part that you're bringing up already is how in this particular Western culture, we do have to shut down a lot of sensation
Yes.
and shut out a lot of sensation where, like you're saying, if we go into a wilderness, it's like our natural body comes back online and it is a little overloading. To me, it speaks to, again, like this human potential. Like, what is a natural human being to me is this question, especially when people are always talking about violence as human nature. And that was one of the things throughout my life and my career. I just thought, is it though? Like, we're just taking that as yep, that's what it is. And I just think you don't see that in nature. And then people talk about violence in nature. And I think this is, again, maybe a mistake in our language because I think, yes, there is killing, there is hunting for food, there's
Yeah.
killing.
Mm.
But there isn't necessarily violence. And then there will be people that champion, yes, there's violence. There's a certain species that is just violent because it wants to be. Like, okay, maybe. And then there's cruelty.
Mm.
And I think our human culture is so abundantly cruel. And I don't think that's our nature. I think it's a symptom of what I'm challenging as a psychologist is the way we think, the story that we tell, the story that we're told, that I think hurts us so badly that we end up doing some very cruel things to each other and to the rest of nature. I think it's stemming from the wrong story that we tell.
Yes, the power of words and the spelling. I love words and the etymology and the source of everything. Thoughts become things, and it really does influence things. And it just brings me to a point where I worked with a gang leader. I used to do work with horses, equine assisted learning. And
Hmm.
just like the forest therapy, there is no agenda, there's no judgment. And so he was asked to walk into the middle of this field, and there were 20 horses, and he was petrified because he's used to watching his back, and he
Yeah.
thought he was going to be attacked. Well, it was funny because we stood in the middle of this field, and all the horses formed a circle on the outside, and every single one of them turned their back on him. And then one came up behind him and rested his muzzle on his shoulder, and he hadn't sensed it. And it's that immersion. If you're in an environment that you're used to, or your senses are heightened to expect something, not knowing how it is in something else, any amount of talking would never have shown him that there is a different way.
Yeah.
And then he saw one of the horses resting its hock, and he thought it was going to attack him again because his mindset is all about protection. and ultimately that's what I think where this violence comes from. He was used to that stance in dogfighting.
Mm, mm,
My thoughts on what you're saying, it's where this individuation has come, that this is mine and that is yours, so we're protecting and not recognizing that we are a part of something as opposed to being separate from. And that is what I think keeps us, contains us within a certain world and doesn't open us up to all that is available. And
mm-hmm,
really, because we are very set in the mind to ask for evidence of something, you have
mm-hmm,
to experience it. And I think that is the beauty of the work that you're doing, and how important forest therapy, nature in all her guises, is, because she
mm-hmm.
can teach us so much.
Absolutely. And I think also, kind of knowing that forest therapy or forest bathing, the word forest is just a placeholder. It doesn't have to be a forest. To your point, it is the rest of nature. It's the other than human beings, whether they're horses or they're rocks or they're the ocean or they're the sky, the elements, like anything that is nature. And this is like kind of a way of thinking about it, maybe that helps is it's the medicine, So it was interesting to hear that story about this man who was so afraid of being attacked, as you said, and the horses sort of intuitively knew how to give him the medicine that he needed.
Yeah.
And to really understand, again, it's not just that we're part of something, because I think that people understand that to a degree. That's not an uncommon thought. I'm part of it. But that there's a relationship, there's a belongingness, that there is an actual desire for the rest of nature to connect with us in a meaningful, again, like sentient way, even if it's something we don't typically anymore assign sentience to, like a boulder.
Mm-hmm.
This is sort of like my point as a psychologist is like returning to the original story that humans, for much longer than now, have always understood that there's a reciprocity and a connection between a human and any other being,
Mm.
natural being, or elemental being.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm celebrating, because I've just finished writing a 52 deck of Oracle card. And
Mm,
having been to Antarctica, I'm slightly obsessed with penguins. And I
mm,
use them as a metaphor to create certain analogies. And what you're talking about with the community side of things, it just struck me, because they are individuals, they walk at their own pace and do their own thing. But one of the things that I think is hard for us to get our heads around is the fact they're so attuned to nature and being part of the community that huddles together to protect, but gives
mm.
space to be individuals. Unless you're there and see it for yourself, it's really hard to, again, it is that experiential thing, and why it's so important to take time out, even just sitting on the lawn and watching a blade of
Yeah,
grass move, and the way the leaves go move with the wind, and it's fascinating, isn't it?
it really is. And again, you're bringing up that communication isn't always going to be verbal, it's nonverbal.
Yep.
And when we can tune back into those nonverbal ways of expressing and receiving expression, there can be so much gained from, like, if you repeatedly spent time on that lawn with the grass, noticing the way that it moves. If you do that consistently, there is some type of pattern or something that's learned that isn't coming from a linguistic place. It's coming from within your eyes understanding the patterning. Or this one is a little bit easier, I think, to maybe understand for people to kind of grasp. I had the good fortune of going to Sardinia over the summer, and the cicadas were everywhere and so loud. And so I spent a good deal of my days just letting that frequency come into my mind. And it works on our nervous system. So, people a lot go to their app on the phone and look for frequencies and music that's regulating their this and that. And it's like, that's great. And listen to the cicadas or listen to the ocean. These things work on us, on our bodies, on our sensory self, like you're saying, our experiential self, not just our cognitive part of us. We overemphasize our thinking. And then, again, not to throw the thinking out, but let's look at what are we thinking in order to have it actually align with reality. That's the part that I feel like is so important about what I'm calling earth-centered psychology, which is also called ecopsychology, deep ecology. Like there are a lot of names for it.
Mm,
I'm saying earth-centered to point out that currently in Western culture, we're anthropocentric. So we're human-centered.
mm,
And that's not based on anything real.
mm,
This anthropocentric ideology or paradigm, just one day, I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but just one day, it was like, let's see what life is like if we separate humans out and raise them above the rest of nature. Like, that's not reality. That was just an idea. What if we tell this story that humans are superior to the rest of nature and therefore can dominate it?
you're going exactly where my mind was going. It is that dominance thing, thinking because we have a mind, we are superior to. It's that hierarchy kind of thing. And really, nature has got a lot to teach us because we only perceive about 7% that we can translate with the mind. And there's an infinite source of energy, I call it intelligence, that comes into form, informs us, but the mind
Hmm.
only computes so much. And so imagine immersing yourself in something, and that's where the imagination comes in. We dismiss little people with their lovely, lovely stories and things like this. How do we know? We've forgotten because we're so programmed and conditioned nowadays to think and protect and be separate and succeed and domineer something. Yeah. And
Right.
it's
And
a relationship with the mind, including the mind, because the
yeah,
heart picks up so much more. Building a relationship with the mind, saying thanks for that, but you're not in control and allow the body to lead.
right. And exactly what you're saying. The story that we tell is going to affect what we do, how
Mm,
we behave. Whatever story we tell, going back to your friend that was afraid of being attacked,
mm,
everything he did had to meet that story.
yeah.
Okay. And so the story of separation, it's not reality. Like, okay, what am I trying to say? Let me try to say this in a more coherent way. Our body is never separate from the rest of nature.
Mm, mm,
Our mind is never separate from our body.
mm-hmm.
What we put in that operating system, in that story, like we have to tell a story in order for a human being to function here.
Yep.
We're storytellers. This story that the mind is separate from the body, the body is separate from the rest of Earth, is the biggest gaslighting ever.
Mm-hmm.
And how damaging it is to have to keep up this lie that my mind is different than my body is different than the air, or different than the soil.
Just
Dude,
have a funny thought off
yeah.
the back of that. Imagine if we shifted the story that's out there about climate change, okay,
Mhm.
and applied it to ourselves. If
Mhm.
we were to shift ourselves and think about changing the climate within ourselves, because there's a lot of fear out there. And if we could turn it round and for people to understand it's not out there, we are a part of it. And what is happening out there is happening within us. So if we tend to our own climate conditions, it would
It,
impact everything else.
it's true. And also to recognize there isn't any in here and out there.
Hmm. Yep.
It's one thing.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
So as the climate, as the earth, as Gaia, whatever you want to name this living sentient organism that gives birth to all these different forms, trees, horses, humans, oceans, rivers. The planet gives birth to many forms of life.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're all one, there's only one Earth. If the Earth is suffering, we're suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Can't not, because our body is embedded. This is
Yeah.
why the name of the book, A Nature Embedded Mind, gets the mind in alignment with reality
Yeah.
so
Yes.
that we can, again, in language is a really important part of it, that we do lean into there is no in here and out there.
Mm.
There is me as mm, melting polar caps. I'm
Yes.
melting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm melting. What do I need to do for myself?
Yeah. Yes.
And also understanding we're not the dominant, most intelligent species.
Yeah.
So Gaia is going to correct herself. She's not going to let herself die. We have to ride along with that. And that's again where I feel like when we can shift our mind back into knowing we are one entity, the ride is smoother. It's less scary.
Well, it is when you're there, but the idea of surrendering and letting go because we believe that that control and outsourcing to think something or somebody else can help us, as opposed to Gaia being a self regulating system, so are we. And that is calibrating our own sense. It's trusting that we will be right and to really connect and find the clues in nature. It is the patterns. And so that speaks to your work with EMDR. And I love sacred geometry. I've just designed and built my tiny home on sacred geometry.
Mhm.
Nature's got so much to tell us. Like Einstein said, look deep into nature and you'll find the answers.
Right, right,
And it's becoming more fashionable now, the biomimicry of looking at nature to inform us.
right. And I think, like now, bringing it back to small scale trust,
Yes.
when an individual like you, me, anyone starts to develop relationships, kinship, like actual relationship, kinship, reciprocal relationship with other than humans, and see how trustworthy it is, then it's easier to let go and surrender, as you're saying, to the larger
Mm.
calibrations at play. Because I do think it's really hard for a human to go grand without taking those little steps of Oh, I really understand that there is a relationship between me and the tree in my yard. And it's not just because I water it or whatever, but that you begin to spend enough time. This is the forest, the nature therapy, sitting and receiving information in new ways that then you can begin to trust, oh my gosh, it is sentient. Oh my gosh, it does know that I'm here. It actually sees me too.
Can you
But
give us
yeah,
an experience to highlight that?
yes. And also, it takes repetition.
Yes.
So, this is again where if we go into a place like Antarctica, I haven't been, so I'm just imagining through you. It's so immense that
Hmm.
we're immediately shifted into some state of awe,
Yeah.
which I'm going to say is probably more of our natural state,
Hmm.
not cruelty, but probably awe. But coming back down to our typical day, it takes consistency because, again, we're trained to overlook and disbelieve and discount a lot of relational information that's coming to us from the other than humans in our daily life.
Hmm. Mm.
So let me try to answer the question now. Trying to think of a good story. You know, there are so many of them. I live in an apartment and I have a courtyard, so I'm constantly in conversation, let's say, with the palm trees. I'm in LA, so palm trees and the squirrels and the bees, whoever is out my window. There was a squirrel. There's this one story that's always at this one tree. So we get to know each other. I'm only a pane of glass away from this creature. There's nothing really separating us except this, what feels very real to me. But I would notice that he was drinking out of the fountain in the courtyard, and I checked it because I was concerned. And it's true, it had chlorine in it.
Right.
So I was thinking, I don't want him to have to drink chlorine. So I put water out for him, a bowl of fresh water. And I went outside and he was watching me. And I was like, this is for you. This is your water. I'm putting this here for you. And he was like listening. Didn't come right down, but listening. And as soon as I stepped far enough away, he came down and he drank. Now, a lot of animals are coming to drink that water that's relatively fresh. But I guess the point of my story is that it's in the relationship, it's in trusting or building this trust that I could say something like that
Mm.
and know that this other being doesn't understand English, but understands something about my movement or the offering.
Mm.
I don't know if that's the best example, but I feel like these moments with where we extend our disbelief that they don't understand us can build our trust in not only does the rest of nature understand us, but they understand a lot. And again, we can take off this burden of humans got us into this mess and humans have to get us out. It's like get out of the driver's seat, take the right proportion of you're one of many species here that's working on climate change
Hmm. Mm.
and trust that you're not alone with all of what might be, I'm going to say scaring because I think that a lot of people are scared right now more than
And
anything.
talking of that in your story with the squirrels and going back to Antarctica, the humans are not scared of the visitors. They do not feel threatened. And as a couple of examples, I was sitting on this rock on my own, waiting to go into Shackleton's hut. And I didn't see this colony because it's volcanic rock and snow and it glistens. And so they're well camouflaged. And this little penguin came running out up to me and started chatting to me. And
Mhm.
then had done his piece and walked away again. Somebody managed to capture it. It was beautiful. And another one was on another island where I was just enjoying the experience and playing snow angels, right? Lying on my back. And this
Yeah.
little chick, about this big, came up to me and mimicked me alongside me. And it was
Right.
just so, it is in awe. I mean, not everybody gets a chance to go to Antarctica, but it's actually that vast space settles you. Give yourself space because we're so used to hacking our way to something. So patience is a huge thing, isn't it? And there's no shortcuts. Nature doesn't, you can't plant a seed and it's like, oh, come on, I want to see the result.
Right. Right. Yes. So again, absolutely. If a person does have the opportunity to go into an awe-inspiring natural out of doors place, yes, it's going to respond and you will respond. Again, I'm going to say naturally.
Yes, yeah.
We're in our right mind. We're in
Mm,
our right mind when we're embedded in the organic world. We
yes.
are not in our right mind when we're in this indoors or digitized environment. That's not where our mind was created, and it's not where it feels good.
Mm,
So it does take more patience, more consistency, and more trust in time will show you things. Again, I think I want to say this. Part of the method that I use and found Amos Clifford developed it, this particular brand of forest therapy is designed in such a way that it really maximizes a short amount of time. And
right.
part of it is because it's done in a group setting with more than one human, as well as the rest of nature
Yeah.
joining in. And so I don't know if this is a great word, but it does seem to kind of accelerate the process. There are particular invitations that a guide uses to really bring these connections more quickly into focus for the
Uh-huh.
people that are participating. And that's why, again, as a psychologist, I'm recommending my colleagues to be trained in this and to help people make this shift back into a more reality-based story, a more reality-based premise.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it anywhere in your yard. It doesn't have to be an amazing place. It can be just an average walking down the street. You begin to know how to make those connections more quickly and
Right.
reliably. So that's again where I'm saying I think having an intervention at this moment in history is good.
Yes. Yeah. Is there anything that you can demonstrate that point as to what you do to kind of expedite the experience that you can share as we're not
Yeah,
there?
yes, yes. The first invitation is called Pleasures of Presence, and it's really attuning to one's senses. So wherever you are, if you pause and tune into a question would be like, what does this place sound like?
Mm-hmm.
What's the farthest sound you can hear? What's the closest sound you can hear? Is there a pattern? Is there a rhythm? Is
Mm.
there a melody to this particular place? And then to also notice the sound of yourself. Perhaps the sound of your breathing, perhaps the sound of swallowing, you might hear sounds from inside you, or you can add a sound by vocalizing. You're free to add into the soundscape because you belong here, maybe adding in a rhythm. So, tuning into the senses in this luxurious way,
Mm, mm,
but really like, again, what does this place sound like? And going through the five senses, basically, even though we have so many more than
yes.
that, um, going through those senses and noticing if you find anything pleasurable about it.
Right.
Because again, there's something almost counterculture of enjoying our bodies, you know,
Interesting.
the pleasure of just hearing.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And if you notice, oh, I love being able to hear this place, then just acknowledging that. So the invitations take you into your body, really embodying your experience. Like you said, experiential is really the only way to know these things. You can think about it, but it's not going to make a difference. So, really coming into your body. And then the next invitation is noticing what's moving, what's
Mm-hmm.
in motion. So, those two things really bring a person out of their chit chat mind,
Yep.
their distracted mind, and also the mind that has to cut all this stuff out.
Yep.
Like we spend a lot of time shutting down our senses. So you come into your body, you recognize yourself as part of the soundscape or the landscape. You're interacting with it, touching it, smelling it. If you're curious enough, tasting it. Um, and then beginning to notice what's moving. And in order to notice what's moving, sometimes you have to be absolutely still.
Mm, mm.
And those two really bring a person into their body and then their earth body.
Because you don't have to try to do anything because you're using the experience, because where your attention goes, energy flows. So you're sensing with extra sense. You're really experiencing your senses come alive, and it's that rhythm. And I know for myself, you notice, as you said, it's to notice how your body is responding to those sounds and the rhythm, and whether your rhythm it increases or decreases or relaxes or gets excited or is fearful or tenses. There's so many messages that we become oblivious to, that, and that is the message in nature, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, another thing that we say in this particular method of guiding is that, well, first of all, that the guide simply opens the doors. So it's decentering the human being. It's not like, oh, tell me about this place, Julie. It's like, no, I'm only opening a door for you to meet the land. And the land itself will meet you with whatever it is you need. If you are bereft, it will meet you with most likely something that's comforting. It
Mm,
will give you something about what you're bringing. It's a true relationship.
mm,
If you need more playfulness, you will find that the land makes you laugh. I've done this now for 8 years and taken many people out in this way, and everyone gets exactly what they need.
mm. And that's
And
the beauty of being a facilitator, isn't it? It is getting out the way yourself. And again, you are reflecting what it is that you wanted to teach by just being the facilitator and inviting people and not having the agenda or any expectation yourself, and helping people remove that from their minds to really experience it. What got you into this line of exploring?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's sort of like in hindsight, it makes a lot of logical sense.
Yes.
Um, um, I, let's say, was born with a curiosity about the human mind, consciousness, human potential. What is the truth? Like, just I had this curiosity about consciousness and potential and a deep love of the natural world, the earth, and the other than humans. I entered into the field of psychology because I felt like it was the human suffering that causes the suffering for others. And so I was very interested in what causes suffering and what relieves suffering.
Hmm.
And that led me to mindfulness meditation and sensory awareness and this kind of understanding how the mind, the thinking mind, helps or hinders a person
Yep. Hmm.
and what are the easiest ways to change one's mind. And then there was a moment when I was thinking, what do I want in my career? I have been doing this now for over 30 years. And you have to kind of, or I have to recreate, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be stale because it's too important.
Yep.
Um, and there was a moment where I thought, it's really about the earth. And every time I would think, oh, I want to help the earth, I would like get chills and also cry. And I thought, okay, that's it. That's true, and that's a message for me in this question of how should I help? How can I help? Um, yeah. And so I searched then for how can I use my skill set as a psychologist to help the earth? And as I said, there is a division of psychology called ecopsychology that's been around for, I want to say, in the 90s. Um, Theodore Rozak is one person who coined that term. And so I started learning everything I could about that. It's outlined in the book too, sort of my journey and the different people that were like, "Oh, do you know Joanna Macy? You must know Joanna Macy." And I'm like, "I don't know who Joanna Macy is." So just kept
Mm.
looking for clues of who
Okay.
else. Yeah. And then I was lucky enough to run into the work of Amos Clifford, who synthesized all of this. And I was like, that's my how. Because the
Mm.
why is clear, I think, for many people. It's the how do I shift this, really? And I just felt, as I said, that his method is so user-friendly. It's standardized. It's cross-cultural. It's any age, any gender, any physical ability. It's just doesn't require, yeah, it's meets you where you are and helps you come back into, like I keep saying,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
back home to the earth.
Yeah, it's fascinating because as I've got a background in psychology as well, I failed everything at school. And so the word intelligent was kind of made me feel frustrated because again it's that hierarchy is like you are intelligent if you're not intelligent and meet this measure of success or what it means then you're a nobody.
Mm.
And I've reframed the idea of intelligence as just basically information, and it's how we connect to it. And your journey, it's a big concept that you came up with. The message, the clue that you got, it was about Earth. And the thing is to really sit and feel in it and trust that things will unfold in at a natural pace and inform you, as opposed to going straight to the mind, like the how. It's picking up those clues and not having an expectation that it will be resolved. And I think that's the thing. It's really helping us to appreciate how organic life is and how delicious the experiences are along the way.
Right. And I think, again, to me, that's our natural way of living.
Mhm.
We've been civilized out of the juiciness and the beauty and the relaxed way that is natural.
Mm.
I mean, it's pretty hard to think about that when we look at the mess of violence we're in right now. I mean, I feel it myself. I'm like, Julie, you sound crazy. How can you say that people naturally are peaceful? And I'm like, but they are when we're
Mm.
in right relationship. When we're in relationship, we feel better.
Mm.
We're down-regulated. Our nervous system isn't on high alert, and we
Mhm.
can actually make choices that are beneficial. And I do believe, like, if most of us are, and I keep using this today, but if most of us are in our right mind or our natural mind,
Mhm.
we do outnumber the people who want to dominate and destroy. We do.
Yes, absolutely. Because we look outside to inform us, and that is the domineering message story that is out there. Is there's a lot to fear. There's a lot of violence, and you need to protect yourself. I've worked in TV, radio, and newspapers, and I always challenge them. It's like, where's the good stories? And well,
Yeah.
they don't sell. And it was like, we need something that's uplifting, because as you say, there's so, and this is the reason I started the podcast, because it
Mm.
started just after COVID, and it's like there's so much depression, and you need something inspiring to give people a seed of hope that, oh, she did that, that's interesting. And I'm planting seeds for people to think deeper and feel into, as opposed to rationally, what it means to them, and realize there is so much more. I came across this beautiful expression: the presence is the playground for possibilities. I thought that
Mm.
was really gorgeous, because it is, and have that childlike wonder and awe of what is possible. We've got no idea, because the mind, the brain, the cerebral part of us just confines it, doesn't it? Restricts.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yep. And I think, again, I know I'm repeating myself, but I feel like it's crucial at this moment in history that my field as a Western psychology person addresses this core belief of anthropocentrism as the gaslighting lie that it is. Because if we can all come back into alignment, our nervous systems calm down immediately.
Mm.
And we do understand that there's a much more peace and harmony in the world, not necessarily in our species, but in the world, there's more harmony than disharmony.
Mm-hmm.
The whole planet exists in a harmonious interplay. And we're that. It's just this thought that humans are somehow so different that makes us suffer, makes us different.
Mm.
And when we come back, it's just, I mean, there's science to back this. It's not just an idea. There's the research is just beyond at how our nervous systems regulate differently. Lifestyle diseases are improved. Anxiety decreases, depression decreases, resiliency increases. Like it's all hard science fact. So there's plenty of reason to come back into come back into reality now and feel better.
Well, it's interesting, because at the core of my oracle cards is about Pu, which is Pu, which means natural state in Taoism.
Hmm.
So I'm flinging penguin poo everywhere to help people understand what it is within nature that brings us back to our natural state. And as you say, there's so many examples in of everything in nature that can give us the clues when we take the time out ourselves to do it. I just want to refer to your EMDR, and if you could explain what that is, because sacred geometry and patterns is really another aspect of who we are as well.
Mm-hmm. So EMDR in my work is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. Is that
Right.
what you're
Yes.
referring to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
And
you made reference to it earlier about the eyes showing the patterns.
so EMDR is a very interesting type of therapy. It does use eye movement to reprocess traumatic events.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that Francine Shapiro discovered and developed. And it's really just the moving the eyes back and forth that allows your prefrontal cortex and your hindbrain to communicate again and reprocess. It doesn't have to be trauma, but typically it was developed around trauma to process it in a way that is then more adaptive for the person. So it's not really something that I use in forest therapy, but
Right.
it is a healing phenomenon that uses eye movement to
Mm.
allow the healing, in a way, the natural healing beyond what you think the problem is.
Yeah.
You can find through the psyche healing itself what has gotten linked that then needs to unlink, so to speak.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you can recreate a different story, or you're not attached to that story. You move on.
Yes, but it's not just cognitive. I think this is where, in a lot of times, people feel like, yeah, I know that's not true, but I still
Yeah.
feel like it's true.
Yeah.
And this is a way to get the feeling part in line with the new information that
Mm.
you know.
Because you're detached from it, you're not immersed in it. Yes.
Yeah, for me, the way I think of it is if you have a cut on your skin,
Yeah.
if you don't mess with it,
Yes.
your body knows how to heal it.
Yep.
Do I know how to heal it? No.
Mm-hmm.
But my body knows how to do that. It's the same with the mind. If we don't get in there and try to make it through this process, it's the natural way for the mind to heal itself. And it
Mm-hmm.
can be really surprising because you're sort of observing, even the person who is experiencing it is sort of observing what needs to happen next for the healing. And it's always surprising to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what they expected. And it's certainly not something that I would ever guess as a person outside of their system. So it's just a very clean way of letting the mind heal itself.
Well, that really highlights the fact that the mind is like a prison and it has no idea of the potential outcomes because it's such a small percentage. And when we detach ourselves from it and trust, and I interviewed a lady, Jules Bright, one of the things she's been creating over 20 years. She has a passion for the ocean. And so she created this sun cream because she didn't want it to impact the ocean environment or the body. She's a nurse. She had an accident where she came off this moped in Bali, right in the middle of the forest somewhere. And she was looked after by three women who treated her with coconut milk and palms. And she was blown away within 3 days how the skin had healed. It was beyond anything that she could conceive with her medical knowledge and her mind.
Right.
I mean, I know that's evidence of, but there's so much more happening within us that we have no clue of. what is what's
Absolutely.
there and what could come to the surface, but we're just pushing it down all the time and rationalizing it with rules and regulations, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think you're describing like the different aspects of the human experience where this is how I've come to understand it. One's intuition
Yes,
is sovereign.
yes,
Your intuition is sovereign. Your thinking mind is influenced by the outside.
yeah,
You've been told, like you're saying, what are the shoulds and the shouldn'ts for this particular group of people so that I don't get kicked out and I die in isolation. Like we have to stay with the group, and the group controls the members by telling them what to think. We do have free will over those thoughts. It's not always easy to change them. Maybe you come to someone like me to help, but that's changeable. It's also, like I'm saying, it's corruptible, you
yes.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Your intuition is sovereign. You can't be corrupted.
Yeah.
So it's learning to hear your intuition and
Mhm.
follow your intuition faithfully that will guide a person, I think, to who they are, themselves, their life, their why am I here kind of questions is intuition. I think the other part of the human experience, as we've been talking about, is sensory input. So sensations, that again, those are sovereign.
Mm.
What you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're seeing, I'm gonna go on a limb and say it's sovereign.
Absolutely.
Yeah, where our emotions can be manipulated. I've been looking at like what is it that's sovereign in a human design and how do
Mhm.
we lean into that? And what do we need to be kind of considering and contemplating and maybe updating and upgrading or not believing in 100%. Like, don't believe everything you think. That's not a good idea. Don't believe everything you feel. Feeling outraged, like, take a minute. Hold on. What's happening?
Yeah, what is the discomfort or the dissonance? Because we're used to dismissing it and pushing it down. And to me, that is what depression is, repressing the emotions. We've not sat through them to understand the meaning, because emotions is just energy in motion. The messages are within those emotions. And so we're influenced, like you say, from people who want us to control us with stories that we
Right.
take and creates fear, because you mentioned to faithfully follow yourself. So what does faithful mean to you in that context?
Again, I think the first step is spending a lot of time to, I mean, this is not news because everyone's been saying it throughout time, that small inner voice or that whisper. You do need to begin to discern what is your intuition from your thoughts. And then what I mean by faithfully is with as little fear as you can, follow it. I've found in my life, fear is never right. You don't have to listen unless it's something like I'm going to fall off a cliff. Like
Yeah.
actual life-threatening fear, yes. But the fears that we are telling ourselves, there's too many to go into, but they're not telling you the truth. Not to sound cheesy, but the truth is going to be in the form of love. It's going to be in the form of heart expanding, joy, pleasure, contentment. Like I try to make it as user friendly as possible because very few people are ready for joy,
Yes.
but maybe you're ready for content. You
Yeah.
know?
A lot of people aspire to be happy or content, but have no idea what it actually, if it came into being, it's almost as if they're denying it because they don't feel they're deserving of it as well. That's another thing. Just go back to what you were saying earlier, so far as presence is concerned, that when you are present in that moment, you give yourself space. Ultimately, this is about creating space for information to integrate and find its meaning, your own meaning in it, rather than listening to the mind. But presence is when you are there, there is no thought of past influences. And so your experiences in the forest, the invitation, when we sit with sound, our senses, we're not thinking about anything else. So we are totally present, and we're not thinking of the future. So fear is not a part of the picture. And that is the ultimate immersion. And to me, that is what faith is.
Mm-hmm.
It's reclaiming that sovereignty in presence.
Mm-hmm.
Because fear can't get in the way. And we're so busy looking for happiness, looking to the future to bring something, that we don't create that space, even if it's just 5 minutes, and then keep extending it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it exactly. That you start small, in the immediate moment where you are with the amount of time, and then you lengthen. So deepen, deepen your presence, deepen your ability to stay with a sensation, like stay with sounds without leaping into, oh, that reminds me of 100 years ago. It's like just stay with the sound. But yes, you're right. It's a skill to increase, to cultivate.
And it's strengthening the relationship that we have with ourselves, isn't it?
Mhm. Mhm. With
Yeah.
ourselves, with the rest of nature, with other humans. Yes, absolutely. All of those relational skills are essential in order to have something that, on a moment, you may feel joy, but to have sustained joyfulness, yeah, that's a cultivation.
And that sustained enjoyment, it doesn't mean being on a high all the time. There are peaks and troughs. I can remember a few years ago, a real sense of contentment. And then because I was such an energized bunny in the past, and doing, and as an enthusiologist, but it doesn't mean that I'm pinging off the sea. It was like, oh, this is unusual. And sitting with this really calm, peaceful space and thinking for a moment, oh, I'm not odd. This is delicious. This is really what it's all about. And so you're not striving all the time. It is there in those little moments, is beautiful. Hey.
Yep.
Oh.
And like you're saying, it doesn't have to be one note. Like we're not just looking for one like flat note. There is a deep satisfaction that even can come from sitting with sadness, sitting with
Mm,
loss, sitting
mm.
with any emotion. If we're really there with it, it moves and it changes like ocean waves. Sometimes they're big and sometimes they're small.
It's
It's
like a
the
musical composition, isn't it? It's a symphony. You need all those parts for it's to be whole.
Mhm.
And we're not being idealistic saying that it will be hunky-dory all the time. It's
Right.
it's being able to ride that wave that is really fulfilling.
And I do think there is a particular kind of pleasure in reality, even if reality is heartbreaking in a moment.
Mm.
There's a different experience of it than if you're avoiding it or pretending it isn't there. There's something, again, when we're aligned, when we're in tune with ourselves and our environment, we relax, even if we're relaxing into tears. It's fine.
Because it shows love. Again, it goes back to what
Yeah.
you were saying about love. If you're sad about something, it shows why it matters to you. And that is a huge frequency. And that in itself balance it, the sadness with the joy and appreciation for what you had, and brings it back. And grief is a huge cycle of anger and sadness and laughter. And some people think somebody's just experienced the death of someone and there's laughter, how inappropriate, but it's a natural part of the process, isn't it?
Yep. And it comes back full circle to what you were saying with climate crisis or climate anxiety or the grief that we may feel of the large scale devastations. It's okay to feel the sadness. It's not just okay, it's almost impossible not to. But then, from a heart centered place, how does one move in a world like this? Instead of, like you're saying, it's not even rushing to fix it, it's letting ourselves feel that love,
Mm.
feel the love for the places we don't want destroyed.
And it gives a renewed sense of appreciation, and then your actions change, and it just has a compound effect, doesn't it? Beautiful.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is there been a book or person that's really influenced your journey, or has it been as organic that it's hard to pinpoint?
It's really not a human being.
Ah,
It's an
love
other than human. Yeah, it's definitely not humans that have really influenced me and taught me and continue to teach me and continue to be a place of refuge for me and all the things. It's my place of joy, it's my place of consolation, it's my place of wisdom, and it's possible for everyone. I wasn't always like this. I've just been practicing.
fabulous. So is there a quote or something that captures that for you that you keep front of mind, was just a knowing?
Yeah, it's not necessarily a quote. There are some beautiful quotes about nature for sure. But again, it's a living relationship
Yeah.
with these ancient relatives. When you go to the ocean, I'm going to stop saying that and just direct one to the water that's coming out of your faucet. That's
Mm.
the water. That's an ancient relative. That's the only water that's ever been here. We didn't make it from anything else. That's the original water that you're brushing your teeth with. Like that to me is amazing. If you're looking at a rock, it's 1,000 years old. You're holding an ancient ancestor right there. Those kinds of things, I think, really understanding who you're around and who's around you is a guiding light, is maybe more than what a human quote could capture.
Beautiful. So if I was your fairy godmother and could grant you one wish in the world, what would it be and why?
Yeah, I would wish for I would wish for everyone to entertain this way of being. I would wish for them to give it a try, step outside that mental cage and step into the freedom of the natural world that you are, your own natural self. And if I could have a little side wish, it would be it would be that my field, that Western psychology, really embraces this as a mental health issue
Mm,
and uses our skill to help people come out of this cultural delusion and come back into our right mind and then move forward.
here, here. I totally agree, because with my own background in psychology, I found it compartmentalized things and put people in boxes. Um, and guided me to be included in various other energy forms. In fact, my ancestor discovered the North Magnetic Pole, and he used the Earth's magnetic field to guide him on journeys across from the Arctic to the Antarctic. And I just have a knowing that I am him in a different form. The electromagnetic field is all the information, the intelligence that's available to us. And I guide people true north when he actually found the North Magnetic Pole. I so believe what you're saying and have a same desire as you, that the field expands to include this. Like Einstein said, look deep into it and the answers are there. Create space in your life to create that relationship. And thank you so much for your beautiful book. The cover is absolutely delicious. It's for those of you who are not watching, it's a face with nature in it. It's a nature embedded mind. Sometimes we say don't judge a book by its cover, but my goodness, it draws you in. It's beautiful. So congratulations on finishing your book. I also know what that's like because mine is not finished.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's quite a thing, and to really convey your heart and soul comes out from within the pages. So I'd highly recommend it. I'll put in the notes your website and how people can get the book. And please, when you read it, put some reviews up because authors love thing.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
So is there any other closing comments before we go?
I feel so strongly about this. If anyone wants to talk to me, just talk to me. You know, it's kind of an obvious concept and not so obvious in some ways. So I'm welcoming of questions, want to build a nice, healthy community of people that live this way, because then we just keep spreading that out.
As you say, it's the group, the circle expands, doesn't it? The energy comes together. So thank you so much for your work. It's been an absolute delight and a great way to kick off 2026, all about nature, because that is really what is so important at the moment, isn't it? Natural intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Great way to start this new year and new cycle, right? This is the 1 year.
Yeah. Well, some say it's 1 and others say it's actually the number 10, which has got even more energy in it.
Yeah, and only in numerology you would add them together. So a 10 becomes a 1. But yep, more power.
Don't have any expectations. Let it unfold. Bless.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, Julie.
Oh, thank you. It was lovely. Thank you.
Wasn't that just a fascinating, insightful, thought-provoking interview with Julie? Make sure you take up Julie's invitation and reach out and talk to her if you've got any questions at all. She would really, really love it. And between the two of us, we're going to try and build a community of people to really bring this message home. You'll find all the show notes in the description below and lots more about me and my work at philippaross.com. And don't forget, if you like what you hear, be sure to share it far and wide. And also make sure you follow or subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. I have an interview lined up for next month with a gentleman by the name of Ruben Miller, all about forensic psychology. So that will be fascinating. All your feedback and reviews are much appreciated, as are your ideas for subjects or people you'd like me to interview. Just email me on info@philippaross.com. Now I'm going to leave you with a special ditty of a song called Penguins Rock. It is a song that I created that's come off the back of my writing the oracle cards, all about the wisdom that penguins can bring us. And I think you'll find it a really upbeat song. So share that far and wide as well. So until next month, dig deep, open your mind to a world of possibilities, live life with a generous heart, and create space to build your relationship with Mother Nature.
Not a shout, just a signal saying something's not soothed. Been waddling the same ground day after day, but the beat's gone off tempo and your body knows the way. Like a penguin feeling weather before clouds appear, there's a tug in your chest saying change is near. You don't need a reason, you don't need a plan, just a moment to notice what you already am. Trust the quiet call inside. Yeah, penguins rock. Feel the beat. So you slide off the ledge with a laugh and a prayer. Ice cracking behind you, salt spray in your head. Every step's unfamiliar, every move feels new, but the ground keeps responding when you listen to the cues. There's a wobble in your rhythm, yeah, you feel offbeat, but your flippers learn fast how to find their feet. You don't conquer the chaos, you dance with the tide, learning as you're moving, taking wonder in stride. Storm clouds rolling sideways, doubt starts shouting loud. Old rules try to grab you, pull you back into the crowd, but you huddle in the moment, stay centered in the swirl. There's a quiet in the chaos, watch the edges start to curl. Joy breaks out in bursts, now a flap, a honk, a spin. You're not here to prove a thing, you're here to tune back in. Every slip's a lesson, every pause a clue. The path keeps shape shifting, and so do you. Penguins rock to the rhythm of the earth. Feel it in your flippers, know your value, know your worth. No straight lines, just timing. No map you gotta keep. Trust the quiet call inside. Yeah, penguins rock. Feel the beat. The markers fade now, but the signal's clear. You feel it in the wind, know the coast is near. No push, no rush, just a steady glide. Let the current carry what you don't need to fight. The body is doing the thinking, the mind falls in line. Every sign shows up right on time. What once felt broken starts to make sense. Feedback, no failure, just lived experience. You've met the hard parts, let them speak, they say. Didn't turn your back, didn't look away. Learned how to love without losing your ground. Standing in your center while the world spins round. You've come too far now to doubt the way. Instincts, your compass, presence, your sway. No need to force it, you're already through. This is the moment you're remembering you. Penguins rock to the rhythm of the earth. Feel it in your flippers, know your value, know your worth. No straight lines, just timing. No map you gotta keep. Trust the quiet call inside. Yeah, penguins rock. Feel the beat. Oh, you touch down on new ground. Feel the circle complete. Same sky, different heartbeat. Steady your feet. What you carried, you shed. What you needed, you kept. Now you move with the rhythm. Your body always felt. The noise falls away, what's essential remains. Every scar's just a story that sharpens your aim. You're not searching for home, you're already there. Breathing in the alignment, light as the air. You follow the pull that's been there all along. Not a force, not a fight, just a soul set song. True north isn't distant, it lives in your chest, pointing you gently toward what's next. You return not the same, but more wholly you. Every step